Greece are also have several buzzworthy things. How's the archery training? How's New Zealand?
Oh, it's good. Well, yeah, it's been fantastic. A bit of training before we started shooting The Hobbit. I'm fully into it now, and yeah, it's great. It's really, really having a fantastic time living in New Zealand. It's like a different world. Well, actually, it is a different world. It's, yeah, it's very, very cool.
Can you tease like who you've had the most fun with scene work wise?
Oh, well, the thing is, I've done probably 10% of what I'm going to be doing shoot-wise, so I can't really say, but the cast are fantastic, and because we're so far away from home, everybody's away from home, we're a little family, and Peter and the team create a very warm atmosphere on set and off set. We all socialise. It's really special. I just feel very lucky to be part of it.
Nice. So they're game nights, Hobbit game nights.
Hobbit game nights, yeah.
Game nights.
No.
We're putting together our own Immortals pinup calendar.
Oh, nice.
And I'm just wondering if you, just with the production skills, if you could caption the photos for me.
Every time I see that, I'm thinking of what I was thinking at the exact moment.
That works.
Which was the bells ringing.
I know what I'm going to say. Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
What is that? Is that a bird?
Ready, steady, go!
Look at the size of that wave.
We're trying to recreate our Saturday Night Fever dance. The most beautiful goddess in a red dress with flames coming out behind you.
What the hell are you looking
The
at?
dress is on fire.
God, if he asked me to clean his underwear again, I'm gonna be so pissed off. Scratching the inside of his head with his sword.
Whoa.
I'm gonna
Let me get some Phaedra.
I was just gonna say that.
Where is she?
I'm
gonna cut her hair. She doesn't sleep with me. No.
Beginning of the film, Zeus says a good leader can't have fear, which made me think we all pretty much have fears. So what's your biggest fear?
Neither is very keen on sharks. Yeah. You know, them being highly evolved predators, and their natural element is very much not ours.
It's all Mr. Spielberg's fault, though. You know?
Yeah.
Honestly, it really is.
Does this film kick so much fucking ass that you might end up in another theater by the time it's over?
This film kicked my fucking ass, but I think it's gonna kick the audience's ass too.
Absolutely.
It's unlikely you'll want to be in another theater.
The boys reveal the fucking bodies. I was like, okay, wow.
Do you understand?
Now, in this film, you got men that are scantily clad. Lots of that's the women are gonna love it. But first time we see a great love scene with you as well. Real butt, stunt butt?
Body double butt.
Better.
Yes.
Were you pleased with the body double butt?
I did not check out the body double's butt.
What's it look like in 3D?
It is amazing.
It really
truly
works.
It adds
Absolutely
this
works.
incredible sort of depth to it.
Tarsem actually never told me that I was gonna have a nude scene, and hence I guess he got the body double just in order for me to.
He's a sly dog.
I used to come in and watch scenes because I'd been told they looked incredible, and you felt like you couldn't miss out on seeing it with your own eyes, you know. And then you see it projected onto the screen, and it's incredible.
I've heard more about this butt shot than I've heard of all the performances
seems to
put
be
together.
like one of those
Basically, the
iconic
movie
shots.
works because of the butt shot.
Pretty much, it's the butt shot heard around the world.
Right.
I have faith in you. Prove me right.
Guys, can you tell me why did you each want to take on this role, or take on the role that you took for this movie?
Well, for me, it was a big challenge to take on the role of Zeus, especially with Tarsem's idea of where he wanted Zeus to come from. You know, he didn't want him to be this obviously a traditional look of Zeus is the old man, Laurence Olivier, Liam Neeson, and so he was going to look young, even though he was old, and so that presented a lot of challenges for myself. So that was basically what drew me to the script. What drew me to the project essentially was Tarsem Singh. You know, to work with that man was something I respect his work. I've followed his films, and you know, he has an amazing catalogue of work. And to work with somebody like Tarsem, you know, you're going to have a very unique experience. And his visual detail in the film, you're very aware of as you're shooting the movie that he's taking into account all of the things, not just the whole thing. From tiny moments in the film, you know, it's got his stamp on it.
Yeah.
How about you, Fran?
Well, I don't want to be boring, but it is exactly the same thing. Tarsem, he makes this movie. This is a classic genre movie, and Tarsem has elevated it to be something unique in its genre and a visual masterpiece at the same time. It's something extraordinary, and even from the get-go, you could see from the way he was structuring everything that this was not the norm. This was something special, something unique, and that is something which you don't walk away from. It's something you see and you run at and you try your very hardest to be a part of.
You guys both did a lot of stunt training and training with your bodies for this movie. Can you talk about that process and what it was like to prepare for the role?
It was intense. It's the most intense physical thing I've ever done, and thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. To be sent to Montreal to work with experts in training, physical training, personal training, and work with stuntmen. And I worked with Henry. We trained together for 7 weeks, and it was immense. It was really, really an experience that basically changed me physically for life. I mean, I've never really gone back to the physique I had before this film. It was something, changed my discipline and my education of what diet means and training. It was, yeah, that's basically what my training consisted of.
How about for you, Hen?
Well, I was training for 6 months before we started the movie, in a very Tabata-style training. All bodyweight stuff. It's high repetition, low rest, very cardiovascular. And it's not going to build on too much mass. I think Tarsem's brief was he didn't want big guys. He wanted sort of very ripped, very lean, very Greek statuesque type thing. And just followed that. At one point I was training 8 hours a day in the gym, and it was a combination of the Tabata circuit training kind of thing in the morning, and then we moved on to boxing, and then it was martial arts training, so less of a cardiovascular type thing and more of a mental capacity to try and retain all that information, followed by something fun at the end of the day, which would be a combination of the cardiovascular and martial arts. It would be something like knife fighting or that kind of thing, just to keep it fun and keep it entertaining.
Speaking of fun, you guys would get a day off once in a while from the training. Did you guys ever get to go out and do anything fun around?
Yeah, they used to
Montreal?
call it a cheat day, wasn't
Cheat day,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, where because your body can't keep going when you're training that amount and that intensely. So, thank God for Roger. Thank God he gave us this cheat day, because it was without it, we would have just, I think we'd have just imploded.
It would have become very unpleasant, nasty people.
We wouldn't have been happy people to be around. But this cheat day was nice. We got to, hang out.
You got to drink and have fun and sort of relax on the diet and enjoy yourself.
Have a good steak and fries, and Montreal does good steaks.
Yeah, it does.
So, this was such a wonderful film, action-filled, obviously. Want to get right into your characters. You play almost like Moses in the Bible and biblical history, a hero who sort of starts off in poverty and then, sort of leads his people, and he's kind of the chosen one. Do you want to talk to me about Theseus?
Yeah, Theseus, I mean, he started off in quite the opposite vein of Moses. Moses was very much a positive and good man. Theseus is quite negative and someone who, albeit he's ostracized by society and society looks down on him, he in turn doesn't embrace society. He bares his teeth at society and turns his back on them, and only wants to protect his mother and this old man who's trained him in the martial arts. What makes Theseus incredible is that, against all odds, he turns his back on his own opinions, which have been ingrained over his entire life, and becomes this savior of humanity and this hero of the gods, even though society doesn't want him to be.
Right.
He sacrifices himself when society doesn't care for him.
You play Zeus. And Zeus is interesting because while he, on one end, doesn't want any of the gods to interact with the humans or to impede or, I guess, interfere with humanity, at the same time he encourages it. And so there's sort of a double...
Yeah, it's sort of a tug of war that he's going... Because he obviously doesn't want to see mankind be annihilated by this wicked, dark force, which is King Empyrean, who wants to unleash the Titans, So there is a moral torment that Zeus is dealing with. And he tries to do it in the most sort of subtle way possible, and the way he does it is he targets this young man who he sees on Earth as a potential leader. He sees things in Theseus that he doesn't see in the average human, and so he chooses to mentor Theseus, and he hopes that Theseus can then lead his people. And unfortunately, the law that I set in Mount Olympus for the gods to not interfere with the affairs of mankind, they can't bear it when they see that Theseus and his team are just failing because of the darkness of King Hyperion and his army. And so, he has to reassess and rethink his strategy, and he's forced to get involved. But he knows that that's not the right way. There are rules, there's Earth and there's Mount Olympus, and there are rules that have to be stuck by. Otherwise, things don't work to plan. And only the wisdom of Zeus was the only one who understood that. But war that he's going, because he obviously doesn't want to see mankind be annihilated by this wicked dark force, which is King Hyperion, who wants to unleash the Titan. There is a moral torment that Zeus is dealing with. He sees things in Theseus that he doesn't see in the average human. He chooses to mentor Theseus, and he hopes that Theseus can then lead his people. And unfortunately, the law that I set in Mount Olympus for the gods to not interfere with the affairs of mankind, they can't bear it when they see that Theseus and his team are just failing. He has to reassess and rethink his strategy, and he's forced to get involved.
One of the things I adored, even being a girl, were these battle scenes, which were incredibly gory but so beautifully shot you couldn't turn away. And even you rousing the troops with this speech that was so gorgeous.
Listen to me! Fight for honor! Fight for your children! Fight for your future! Fight for immortality!
Talk to me a bit about the battle scenes and what that was like for you.
The battle scenes were great and incredibly well choreographed. As you say, what makes them special, and what makes them different from any other movie, is that Tarsem has applied his visual mastery to this, and he's created something which is beautiful and dance-like, and although it is visceral and violent, it's not gruesome. You see it, and you see a beautiful piece of art, and you can choose how to look at it, but it affects you emotionally. You either feel sort of your tears coming up or rage welling up, and that's what it should do. It shouldn't just make you want to turn your head away. And Tarsem has achieved that wonderfully, I think.
I would agree with that. Fortunately, our time is up.
No worries.
Thank you
nice
so much.
To meet you.
So, I was just talking about hats just then. Let's talk about the hats of the gods.
I think they're called helmets.
Helmets, crazy headwear. Let's face it.
Yeah, Immortals have the Immortals, the gods have quite amazing headgear, designed by a legend, costume designer, Eiko, who took what you'd expect the gods to look like in costume and took it to another place altogether. But that headgear was fantastic. They were really great.
Another otherworldly type nature to it. It's not just your standard stuff where you go, well, actually, they're just like human beings, but they're shinier.
But there was the odd time when some of the pieces of my headgear, I have a crown, which when it was first designed, was designed in brass. Very cleverly designed in brass, which was very heavy. And I couldn't sort of turn my head without it staying in the same place.
Yeah.
So then we adapted and we changed it to different materials. But it's when you're working with artists such as Tarsem and Eiko and the set designers and the DP, all of them were just like masters of their craft, and they come together and work so well together, you end up with such a masterpiece like this.
So when Tarsem calls you up and says, by the way, today you'll be doing a scene where you basically whip your son so hard into a cliff that he becomes a fossil and dies.
Yes.
And you're sort of like, oh, what goes through your mind? Is it just like, well, I did that last Wednesday, or is it just like, God, this is going to be like crazy? And
well, prior to doing the scene, I had to have whip training. So we had a whipmaster come in with like several different sized whips that all had a different sound and a different technique, and so I learned how to do it, because when we finally shot it on the day, I shot it with just a green screen piece of rope. But I had to have the muscle memory to do the because it sounds easy, but actually it's not. The whole body goes into cracking a giant whip such as the one that I kill Ares with. So yeah, interesting character, nasty man. Nasty father.
But
necessary.
Necessary. He defied me.
Broke the law.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one for both of you then. Tarzan also, I've heard, had a sort of a good idea of having lots of the sets built in miniature so that you could see the sorts of things that would then be green screens.
Yeah.
So you sort of didn't have to act against nothing with nothing.
Absolutely.
To go on.
One of the most wonderful things about walking into this project was that the sets themselves, our immediate environment was very, very elaborately designed. And the deep background was green screen. And before we even started shooting, when we were training, Tarzan would take us through a 4-hour walkthrough of the script and have all of his artwork there up on the wall in these miniature sets. So we had every idea of what world we've been living in for millennia, or what world I've been living in for 25 so years. And it made it that much easier because without looking at a green screen, you felt part of the environment. And that's an essential quality, I think, to present and to be in this world. Theseus in this, he begins as very much an anti-hero. He's downtrodden and he hates society, and he has no real love or want to be a hero in any way, shape or form. And it's only the matter of chance that King Hyperion happens to kill his mother, the one thing he cares for in life, the only thing that matters to him in life. King Hyperion kills his mother, and Theseus then changes his path, which was initially stay away from all this stuff which everyone else is doing, I don't care, and he wants to kill Hyperion, and he's hell-bent on it. And it's then on this journey that he learns about all things like gods, which he never believed in before. And his whole world is pulled out from underneath him, and he has to restructure everything and turn his back on everything that he has taught himself and what is important in himself, and become a hero for humanity and a hero of the gods against everything he's ever believed in.
Quite simple to Zeus, and he sets the decree in Olympus to the other gods that they cannot interfere in the affairs of mankind. That mankind have to find their own way. He helps them along a little bit because Zeus, knowing he can see what's happening on Earth, and so he transforms himself into an old man, into John Hurt when he's young, when he's an old man, and he comes to Earth and he mentors Theseus as a young man and gives him all the tools to become a leader. He sees things in Theseus that he sees in no other human. And then when the time comes, Theseus unknowingly has all of these attributes and they come into action, and that's how he becomes this leader and this hero that the gods actually need because they cannot get involved. Unfortunately, the gods do.
You got this role before you were cast in Superman.
Yeah.
How does that help you preparing for it?
Well, one, the experience of doing a job is always great, and you take every single experience with you, and it enhances you as an actor. But two, physically, although I had to lose it for the job afterwards, the physical prep for Immortals mentally prepared me for the physical work on Superman. And it wasn't my first time going in and trying to change my body completely, and so I knew what to expect. I knew how much it was going to hurt, and it's actually helped me push harder and longer than I did on Immortals.
The fight scenes in this film are really brutal. How grueling was it to film them?
Oh, it was full on. I mean, our training, we knew what we were letting ourselves in for. After a few days being with the fight choreographers and the stunt guys, because they showed us what we were having to learn, and then you realize, and they did it at full speed, and we learned it at slow speed, and then you get on set and you're in costume and you've got dirt and wind machines and you've got Tarsem on a megaphone screaming at you and extras, and it's a lot to take on.
It is grueling, but enormous fun.
Yeah.
Because you get to be a kid again. And you get to be a kid, but it's like sort of being in a really advanced world where you're not holding a stick in your hand, you're holding a sword, and you get to win. You get to run down the line and kill a whole bunch of guys, and you win at the end.
Luke, you are the god of the gods.
The god of the gods. King of the gods, actually.
Well, I know, but I like to call you the god of the gods.
Oh, I like that too. I should take that. Yeah. I'm Zeus, yeah. Interestingly, I'm probably the youngest actor who's played Zeus in the life of Zeus in movies. So most people are expecting to see Zeus as the sort of Laurence Olivier role, but a much older man. But Tarsem had a very different vision, which I totally was sold with. That what if you were a god? Why on earth would you want to look old and wrinkly and grey and slightly portly and sit on a throne all day long? No, you want to be a warrior. You want to fight. You want to look good. You want to be young. So that's what we did.
And your character, in many ways, I think, is kind of don't you kind of want to be king? maybe in the back of your mind.
No, he doesn't. Theseus, there's the only thing he wants is to protect those that he loves. Everything outside of that circle of influence doesn't matter to him. It's not important because his entire life he's been ostracized by society and looked down upon by everyone else. So he cares nothing for them. He wants nothing to do with them. He doesn't want to be doesn't want to lord above them. Doesn't want to be below them. Certainly, doesn't want them to be around. He wants to live in a very enclosed private bubble with the people that he loves, and that's it.
So what's up, man? I got the men in the house, man, and I just want to say thanks for bringing gangster back.
Thank you.
No, this is cool, man. It's in 3D, battle after battle, wicked action. I mean, what more can you ask for? This was nice.
Delivers, doesn't it?
Yeah, it delivers, man, and it's visually. I mean, I can't even really think of a word to describe it visually. How would you?
Well, I first thing I said to Tarsem after I'd seen it 3 days ago was it was a masterpiece. Masterpiece in my mind is when there's only one of them. There's only one of a kind of a masterpiece. And as far as I'm concerned, what I saw was I've never seen anything else like it. I think it's set a benchmark, and it'll influence. I believe it will influence movies of this genre for a long, long time to come.
That's a good breakdown. I like that definition. How would you describe the movie visually?
I'd say the thing's a visual feast. I mean, it really does. It grabs you, it shakes you, and it forces you. He's like a conductor, okay? And we're his orchestra. And he is making us feel and all dependent on these visuals. You could almost take everything out. You could take the story out, you could take the action out, you could take the love out, you could take all the
suck it all out and it's still gonna deliver.
And with all the visual and the color, it's still gonna make you feel. He does it so very well. Truly is a master.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's like one of those movies you can watch like again and again, and you're always going to find something new to it because it does look so good. But fortunately, though, you don't have to suck anything out because the story is nice too. So break down who you are, what your character does, and how you are central to the magic of the plot of this movie.
Well, the basic plot is a chap called King Hyperion who is rampaging his way across Greece to find the Empress Bow. The Empress Bow he plans to release the Titans with, who lost a millennia-old war against the gods. The gods imprisoned the Titans, and now they can watch this guy rampaging their way across Greece, and they can't take any affair in mankind's ways because Zeus has passed the law himself. And then there's this chap called Theseus in a village who has been looked down on his entire life by everyone in the village. His mother was raped, he has no father.
He's the clear underdog.
He's considered untouchable, yeah. But there's this old chap who's taken him under his wing, which is Zeus ultimately.
But it's some little tricks to it that we won't give away though. But it's nicely done because you are who in the movie?
I play Zeus, the king of the gods, and I'm not old. Which is an interesting one. It'll be, people will see Zeus represented by somebody who's way younger than he's always been represented in.
Forgive me, Father. Forgive me.
Yeah, it's a nice little twist on that. I like the way they played on that. I thought that was really key to really making this thing fresh and hip.
Yeah, I think Tarsem and I really wanted to. We were taking a big step by doing what he was taking a big step, casting me to play the role because I had to inhibit a father character, a king, a warrior, and a god, the king of the gods. So there was a lot to take on, but it was a good challenge, and that's why we do what we do, is to be challenged as an actor. Right?
And all this is based on a true story, right?
It's all true, yes.
All true.
It's all good, man. Nah, thanks, man. Great movie. Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
You guys look great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Buddy.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man. I dressed up for you guys.
Thank you.
I like what you
appreciate
got.
it.
I enjoyed the movie, man. You know, when I'm on the phone calling my mom after a film crying, this movie touched me.
Yeah. It's good.
And I was really crying. I was bawling in the car.
Really?
My girlfriend's like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "This movie's awesome."
Wow.
I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
And I see a lot of
waiting for a punchline.
No,
Me too, yeah.
no, there's no punchline, baby. There's no punchline. I see a lot of crappy 3D movies.
Actually, the 3D in this is awesome. I was not a fan of 3D before I saw this, and the new technology, whatever they've put into this, however they made it different, coupled with Tarsem's visuals, have made it epic.
Brother, we were like, you know, it's tough for me to like lay my popcorn down because I don't do that. I clutch my popcorn. I cradle it when I'm eating it. I put it down, dude, and we're just like, everybody in the theater was just like, yo, like this is no joke. What was the workout regimen for you guys? Because you know, I'm trying to get fit. I'm you know, I hit the gym once a month, and he's laughing. What do I have to do to prepare myself to be a warrior so I could stand by you guys and really get crazy and fight and kill everybody?
I think that the most important trick is you've got to teach part of your head to stop listening to your mind, because your body will be tired and your mind will be saying, I can't. And you'll want to say, I can't, and stop and put the weights down or stop rowing or stop running or whatever it is. Right. The truth is, you can.
That's what I think because I enter hot wing eating contests. That's the same thinking I go through.
It's too hot. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Until I'm just like, oh, and I just
keel over.
Yeah.
But you know what? I win first place every time.
There you go.
Love it.
You've got to be willing to commit.
Ribs USA, Burbank.
Nice.
Yeah. We'll pull out there.
That's
I hope Ribs USA. I hope you see this.
Yeah.
Chewy loves the restaurant. Both of you, great job.
Thanks, man.
Go watch Immortals. Take your mom, everybody.
And go to the rib shack afterwards.
And go to Ribs USA in Burbank, California.
This guy's hilarious.
Best ribs, chicken, coleslaw. I gotta take you guys.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
We'll
I don't know there'll be any left.
Nice.
Nuts.
Good idea, actually.
They're wrapping me up. We gotta get out of here. All right.
We love watching how people treated Theseus differently in the movie versus, you know, at the beginning they treated him like a peasant, and then once you kind of showed what you could do, they obviously paid a little bit more respect. For you guys, when you got into this business, how did people treat you differently before you kind of hit it versus after, especially even like before Superman and after Superman?
Well, I mean, when you start out as an actor, you are one in a billion, and I think a lot of casting directors and directors think sort of, you know, oh, God, who's this kid? You know, probably thinks he can act, probably can't, there is a sense of frustration, which I can understand. I'm sure they see 1,000 people a day, and 2 or 3 of them are good or decent for the role to potentially go to the next stage of auditioning. So there is that sort of feeling of, you know, oh, I'm not wanted here initially. But once you've proven yourself, and I don't think it's a matter of getting any sort of renown or name, but once you've proven that you can act, and I say you don't even have to have a name at this stage, you can have no jobs, but if they know you can act, they treat you a bit more respect.
It does help. It does help.
What does it take to prove it?
Just some great auditions and some good acting jobs, whether they are well known or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the difference I've noticed in my career is since my work has started to come out, which is you meet people you've never met before, and they go, oh, I love your work, and you go, you love my work, and then they start reeling off what they've seen, and they're like, shit. Because I've come from
IMDb.
Yeah, they've been on IMDb. Yeah, they're lying. They've just checked up online. No, but it's interesting because when I came into the acting world through theatre for 9 years, and so if I came to America, most people would never have seen what I did in the UK, but I can come to America and people have seen films I've done. So that's the difference, and people start to, you know, acknowledge you, and it's a very nice thing because it's hard going, this business, you know.
It is.
You've got to keep it's like a one-man band. You've got to keep playing, you know, keep going and get on with it, and hopefully one of the balls drops and you catch it.
I thought it was fascinating. One of the things I really loved about Zeus is this idea that he's got to kind of put on a disguise. If he wants to go walk around amongst the common folk, he's got to dress up a little bit. Is that something that you guys can? I mean, if you want to walk through Times Square, how much effort do you have to put in?
Dude, I got on a bus 3 days ago in London with my face as a musketeer on the side, and no one even knew.
No way.
No, and long may it rain. I tell you.
I haven't tried it yet.
do you think in another year? Do you think it's going to be tough?
I think things might get a little bit more tough. I think so, depending on, you know, the success of this movie and the next. We'll just wait and see.
See, I run into the opposite problem. I just walk through crowds. I'm like, hey, it's me.
Hey, look at me.
You want to take a picture with me? Yeah. So if you guys want to afterwards, I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, I love that.
We'd appreciate that.
If I ever find myself, just hypothetically, and needing to lead a bunch of men into battle.
Happens all the time.
All the time. It's just something that happened. And I need to look cool doing it, and I need to give an epic speech. By the way, your speech was awesome. Generally, speeches like that don't work in movies. That was a good freaking speech, man. If I find myself needing to do that, how do I look cool? What give me some tips on how to do that appropriately and look cool doing it.
I don't know.
Get yourself a muscle suit.
I need 8-pack abs.
Yeah, 8-pack abs.
Get a megaphone.
Be passionate about it.
Yeah.
Get lost in it. If people are going to follow you into battle, they've got to believe that you're committed.
Right.
Dude, I'm afraid to like take a girl to see this movie because I mean I'm like the skinniest fat guy on the planet. I mean it's like I have a K. I don't even have a 6-pack, 8-pack, nothing like that. So I heard that Tarzan actually said no 6-pack, Henry. You gotta go 8-pack.
Yeah, you gotta go to the full 8-pack.
How the hell do you get that? How do you do that?
Well, there's only a set. You can train until you're blue in the face, but you've got to diet. You've got to have that leanness because if you're not lean, your abs won't show. And of course, the training has to be put in, but then you've got to shed all of the fat and keep the fat off, and that's how you get the 8-pack.
So no Taco Bell.
No Taco Bell.
Gosh, can't do it.
Taco Bell.
What's interesting about the movie is how your characters deal with what they're doing when they're under pressure. I mean, it kind of defines who your characters are. I mean, that pressure you're dealing with the gods and making sure they don't interfere with the humans, and obviously your storyline. Can you equate that to your real lives? Where, as actors, is there a specific moment where you embraced the pressure that you were under, and that kind of helped you succeed through any issue you were dealing with? Do you embrace that pressure?
I think it's sink or swim, right? You either suck it up and deal with pressure, or
it crushes you.
It crushes you,
and then you lose.
Yeah, you just. It's a hard business. This, there's no beating around the bush. You've got to have thick skin, and you've got to be able to commit and work and have a lot of passion and keep your focus. But
you've got to man up because you face a lot of disappointment and you face a lot of beat downs. And even when you think you're doing the best you can do, it's still not working. And as I say, you just got to man up and deal with it and keep on going. And like Theseus did, and like Zeus did in the movie, they face their problems front on and say, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with a problem. I play Theseus, and he's a peasant man who has no father. His mother was raped, and he's been raised by her and her alone. But also this old man, played by John Hurt, has taken him under his wing since he was a young boy and taught him to channel his anger at society, because society looks down on him, into the martial arts.
I am Theseus!
He has such a lack of concern for everyone around him, apart from these two, that he wants nothing to do with this war, which is happening all the way across Greece. There's a chap called King Hyperion, who's raping and pillaging in search for the Emperor's bow, because he wants to release the Titans.
What I want is the Emperor's bow.
The Titans lost a battle against the gods millennia ago and got imprisoned under Mount Tartarus. And the gods have passed a law that they cannot take any hand in mankind's affairs.
Do you understand, mortal?
He observes mankind being annihilated by this wicked king, and then he chooses this young man who he sees something in qualities in this young man that he sees in nobody else, and he sees that this man could lead the people and fight a battle against King Hyperion and potentially win, because as Zeus, he can't get involved, the gods don't get involved, and that's the decree I set.
Fight for honor! Fight for your children! Fight for your future! Fight for immortality!
Theseus fits into this story because Hyperion kills Theseus' mother, and Theseus then he wants revenge.
Does he know that I live only to see his blood at the end of my sword? Does he know he butchered my mother?
Immediately I was drawn back, because I was thinking, hold on, Zeus has always been recognized as an older actor, sort of in Laurence Olivier, Liam Neeson sort of age. And so he was going to be young, but, why shouldn't a god be young? If he could be thousands of years old, but he looks young.
You are on your own!
Training is one thing, and it was a lot of good fun, and learning all the choreography, complex choreography for all the sword stuff and Luke's big fight. It was great, really, really enjoyable, and something sort of which I think we both would do, again in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
It's just the diet was tricky.
It was daunting as well, because I remember turning up, and Henry had been training for 6 months. I had 7 weeks to get into some reasonable shape, and it was incredibly daunting turning up in Montreal and thinking, I've got to get into this shape, But you suck it up and get on with it. You know, that's the job in hand, and that's what we did.
It's the classic mythology message of, you know, fighting against oppression and rising to the occasion against all odds. But otherwise, the whole movie is laced with messages.
So, I just wanted to know, being that you guys play gods, what's your favorite song from the God MC Jay-Z?
Oh
man.
Shit. I mean, I love the Empire State of Mind, but I know that's not just him.
Yeah.
But that's
What's
my
his
favorite.
song?
Alicia Keys. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's his
Another
song.
one too, actually. That's a really good one.
Empire State of Mind.
Yeah, damn you. But it doesn't really. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I won't waste your time.
That's cool. No, you seem to be like the chosen one, Henry. Like, Hollywood has really opened up to you. You have a lot of big movies coming out. How does it feel to get that title of being like the Hollywood god?
I don't know if I am the Hollywood guy. There's a lot happening at the moment and a lot of big profile stuff. It's really exciting, and it's been a long road to get here, and I've had some disappointments and hiccups along the way. But you know, the only hope that I have is that now that I have got a lot of high profile stuff coming along, is that I can entertain well enough. My only reason for being in this industry is to tell stories. That's what I want to do, and I hope people like the stories I have to tell.
This is a great story. You guys really both entertained. There's a bunch of great fight scenes, and I want to know about the choreography with the fight scenes. Which part was the most enjoyable battle for you guys? You guys were kicking ass.
Well, mine was the final one for me. Was the big one which we'd started rehearsing months before we actually shot it. It was the final thing I actually did in the movie. With this huge chain and learning how to work with a chain that was made of this heavy plastic, which was 3 times longer than myself, and then working out, you know, how you slice titans in half that weren't actually standing in front of you. So it's a bit of a challenge with all that stuff.
It's good. It ended up looking really good, that stuff. Tunnel fight for me was my favorite.
What about it made it really cool?
It's just it was the most complex of all the fights, and it took 2 weeks to shoot, I think. And it felt fantastic to be going through all the really complex choreography. I mean, pretty much all the fights were pretty complex, but this one, it just had something about it. It was the most real. It was 2 shield walls coming together, and you know, lots of individual runs going through and hack and slash. It just felt brutal, yet at the same time sort of balletic. And the way Tarsem showed us, the way he shoots it, you could almost see it how it's going to be the finished product, because it's all there. So little of it is added after the fact, and you get to watch it and think, wow, this really is beautiful. This scene's going to kick ass.
It really was beautiful and kick ass. Now, another scene that really caught my attention was the big fight with Mickey. Did he say anything to you before you guys went in and started filming?
Well, nothing that I remember. It's just, you know, okay, let's do it. It's a weekend worth of fighting. And it's going to get exhausting. I mean, fight scenes are tough to shoot, especially the really hands-on stuff, because you're taking hits, you're being thrown against walls, you're being thrown against the floor, you're pretending to get hit, and so you're throwing your head from left to right. And, and you do feel like you've been beaten up by the end of each day.
Now, my last question would be, you guys both have your shirts off throughout the majority of the movie. Do you guys do sit-ups or push-ups, pull-ups? How do you guys get ready to...
I think, well, before,
trainers were on set with us.
Trainers on set, so you have all the resistance bands and stuff, and it's substitute pull-ups on, and just anything just to keep your body active. We had so little time to maintain our shape throughout the shooting.
When shooting, you're talking like 16 hours a day.
Yeah, with a half-hour lunch
on set. You know, it's intense, and then having to fit in when you're not being. We're not taking shooting as a scene to be doing training. So it's relentless. It was really. We had it was a lot of devotion we had to invest.
I can imagine it was a lot of sore and busy days. But thank you guys very much for your time. It was a pleasure.
For me, it was a big challenge to take on the role of Zeus, especially with Tarsem's idea of where he wanted Zeus to come from. You know, he didn't want him to be this obviously a traditional look of Zeus is the old man, Laurence Olivier, Liam Neeson, and so he was going to look young, even though he was old, and so that presented a lot of challenges for myself. So that was basically what drew me to the script. What drew me to the project essentially was Tarsem Singh. You know, to work with that man was something I respect his work. I've followed his films, and you know, he has an amazing catalogue of work. And to work with somebody like Tarsem, you know you're going to have a very unique experience. And his visual detail in the film, you're very aware of as you're shooting the movie, that he's taking into account all of the things, not just the whole thing, from tiny moments in the film. You know it's got his stamp on it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be boring, but it is exactly the same thing. Tarsem, he makes this movie. This is a classic genre movie, and Tarsem has elevated it to be something unique in its genre and a visual masterpiece at the same time. It's something extraordinary, and even from the get-go, you could see from the way he was structuring everything that this was not the norm. This was something special, something unique, and that is something which you don't walk away from. It's something you see and you run at, and you try your very hardest to be a part of.
It was intense. It's the most intense physical thing I've ever done, and thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. To be sent to Montreal to work with experts in training, physical training, personal training, and work with stuntmen, and I worked with Henry. We trained together for 7 weeks, and it was immense. It was really, really an experience that basically changed me physically for life. I mean, I've never really gone back to the physique I had before this film. It was something, changed my discipline and my education of what diet means and training. It was, yeah, that's basically what my training consisted of.
I was training for 6 months before we started the movie, in a very Tabata style training. All bodyweight stuff, it's high repetition, low rest, very cardiovascular, and it's not going to build on too much mass. I think Tarsem's brief was he didn't want big guys. He wanted sort of very ripped, very lean, very Greek statuesque type thing. And just followed that. At one point I was training 8 hours a day in the gym, and it was a combination of the Tabata circuit training kind of thing in the morning, and then we moved on to boxing, and then it was martial arts training, so less of a cardiovascular type thing and more of a mental capacity to try and retain all that information, followed by something fun at the end of the day, which would be a combination of the cardiovascular and martial arts. It would be something like knife fighting or that kind of thing, just to keep it fun and keep it entertaining.
Yeah, they used to call it a cheat day, wasn't it?
Cheat day, yeah.
Yeah, where because your body can't keep going when you're training that amount and that intensely. So thank God for Roger. Thank God he gave us this cheat day, because it was without it, we would have just imploded.
It would have become very unpleasant, nasty people.
We wouldn't have been happy people to be around. But this cheat day was nice. We got to, to hang out.
You got to drink and have fun and sort of relax on the diet and enjoy yourself.
Have a good steak and fries, and Montreal does good steaks.
Yeah, it does.